everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Liz, and in today's video I'm going to show you 10 patriotic tiered tray DIYs, so let's go ahead and jump on in. So for this first one, I had this wooden block from, I believe I got it in a 4-pack from Hobby Lobby, and then I took some scrap wood that I had from my garage. I just doubled the length of the block for my bottom 2 pieces, and then for the top 2 pieces I made it the same length as the original block. So in total you're gonna need 5 wood pieces, and I'm just going to paint these blue, white, and red, or red, white, and blue. And I paint one of my longer wood pieces red, and then one of the shorter ones red, and then white for the long one and white for the other small one. And then you paint the cube blue. And then I had some stencils from the Dollar Tree, and I believe that I cut this out of a Christmas pack that I got during Christmas time, and I just used those stars with some white paint to stencil on some stars onto the blue block. Once everything's dry, all that's left to do is just assemble it with some hot glue. So I hot glued my red and white long block together, and then I'll hot glue the 2 smaller red and white blocks, and then I'll glue those down to the bigger 2 blocks, and then hot glue the blue block so you're making a flag. And then I just wanted this to be distressed and worn looking, so I'm just taking some Waverly Wax and Antique, giving this a good distressing, and that's it. You have yourself a scrap wood flag. For this next one, I'm going to take 2 tags that I picked up in a 12-pack from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to take one, and I'm going to use some washi tape to create some stripes. I just used a piece of the washi tape as a guide to evenly space out my stripes for the flag. And once I've got all the washi tape on there, I'm going to take some Waverly chalk paint in, I want to say this is lacquer, and I'm just going to paint those 2 stripes on there. I'll remove the washi tape, and then you have some red and white stripes. I'll take the second tag, and I'm just going to use some blue paint from Apple Barrel. I just picked this up at Walmart. I'm going to paint the entire thing in this blue color, and then I'm going to reattach some jute to the top of the holes on each tag. And I had this star on a sign from the Dollar Tree. I just popped the star off the sign, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the middle of my blue tag, and that's all you got to do for this DIY. So today is the 3rd installment of my summer releases for my craft kits. As you can tell, they are going to be my patriotic theme. I'm so excited for this one, and so many of you guys requested it, and I think it turned out so cute, and I just think they're so much fun. Also, I've been loving seeing everybody's pictures of your guys' craft kits. It's so much fun. Keep them coming. I love seeing all the different ways that people finish them. So I just absolutely love it. So I'll have a link to my website in the description box below where you can go and purchase your own patriotic craft kits. So I'm going to start off by doing a DIY with our patriotic truck. So this comes in 3 pieces. You got your backing, your truck, and then your wheels. I wanted this piece to be really rustic and distressed, so I'm not going to paint the entire backing. I'm just going to take some Waverly chalk paint in white and give a rough coat to the backing, and then I'm going to take some red chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm going to paint my entire truck in that paint as well. And then for the flag, to make this a little bit easier, I'm just going to paint all of the stripes first white. After they're all painted white, I'll go back over the red stripes with some red. I'm just using really small fine tip detail brushes. And then for the star portion, again, I started out by painting the entire thing blue, thinking I would just go in with a small tipped brush to get in the little engravings for the stars. That didn't work super well, so what I would recommend is first painting where the stars are white, and then you can go back over it with your blue just really lightly, and then your stars will show up through the blue. And then I just painted my wheels with some white Waverly chalk paint for the middle, and then I took my Waverly chalk paint in ink for the tires. And then I'm going to distress everything. Like I said, I'm going to take some of my Waverly wax and antique, and I'm going to distress my truck. I wanted it to look rusted and old and like it had seen some times. I loved the idea of an old weathered truck with its flag in the back and having the flag all weathered and worn, like, you know, it'd gone through some hard times and the flag was still standing. And if that makes sense, that was just my idea behind it, kind of my inspiration. So that is what I attempted to do. I just drug my brush over the flag and tried making it look a little bit more worn. Again, just going over all the edges of the truck just to get that old worn look. And then I also distressed the sign, mostly in those engraved lines on the front, kind of like those shiplap lines. And then I'm going to blend it all together using some white chalk paint. And then I'm just going to take some clear Gorilla Glue and just glue all of my pieces to the back. And then for this one, this is going to be our garland. I took our country cutout and I am going to stain it with my Waverly Wax and Antique, and I left this completely blank. So we didn't add anything else to the United States cutout because I wanted you guys to be able to use your own creative freedom for this, whether you wanted to put a decal on it, or I also thought that it would be really cute to make just like a little hanging garland to attach to the United States cutout. And you could write USA on the beads, just anything like that. I wanted you guys to be able to make it your own. So we just have that United States cutout, and then I'm going to take some beads that will come with the kit. I am going to do a little bit of a different technique when painting these. I'm going to put them all in these little cups for red, white, and blue. I will shake the cups all around to get the paint on the beads, and then I took a paper towel and a baby wipe and just kind of rubbed that excess paint off, just kind of to make it look a little bit more distressed and have some of that natural wood show through. So I did that to all three sets of my beads, and then all I'm going to do is string all of my beads onto some twine, which will also come with your kit. And I just do the pattern of red, white, and blue. And then once all my beads are on there, I'm going to string my United States cutout on there and tie several knots so that it doesn't slip off that twine. And then lastly, to finish it off, I'm going to make a tassel. I just do that by wrapping my twine around a piece of cardboard about 20 times. And then I'll take that other end of my garland and I'll take that twine and slip it through the top portion of the tassel, tie a double knot there, and then all you have to do is take a little bit more twine, wrap it around the top portion of your tassel, wrap that twine around it, tie a couple double knots, cut off the loops at the bottom of your tassel, give it a haircut to make it all straight and even, and that's it for our patriotic garland. Now, as a little bonus, because I just thought this was too cute not to share, I absolutely love him. It's our 4th of July gnome. I think this one is so much fun. So all you have to do is just paint it in the colors that you want. Now, one tip that I learned while doing this, because there are so many details and so many different parts to paint, I would suggest using paint pens. This completely changed the way that I paint my kits because it's so much quicker, number one. Number two, less messy because you have that fine tip on your paint pen to get in all those little spots, like in the stars, in the stripes. So that's something that I would recommend. I didn't figure that out till I was almost done with my gnome, and I was having a hard time getting into all those small little pieces around his beard, and I was like, I have an entire container full of paint pens. Why am I not using those right now? So I will break those out when I go to paint the firework that he's holding and the remaining of those stripes on his hat. I wish I would have done that from the beginning because it would have saved me so much time. So when you're painting things like this, a tip, use paint pens. And then to attach all the pieces together, again, I'm just going to use some clear Gorilla Glue, put it on the back of his nose and the back of the firework, and I'll just put those down on top of him, and that's it. That's how you finish our 4th of July gnome. He's absolutely adorable. I think they are so much fun. I absolutely love the Patriotic popsicles that are in the red, white, and blue. They're so stinking cute, and I wanted to recreate some, and this is how I did it. Now, I'm going to take 3 pieces of a dowel that I cut down. These 3 pieces are all the same size, and I put some painter's tape around the top third of each dowel. You can cut these to whatever size that you want them. You can get whatever size dowel that you want. There's really no rules to it. And in fact, I don't exactly remember the size of this dowel. It was one that I picked up from Michael's, but it is fairly large. So again, I just cut 3 pieces out. I'm going to paint one section in this light blue, one section in the red, and then I'll retape it to be able to paint the middle in my Waverly chalk paint in white. Once all 3 are completely painted, I'm going to take all the tape off of them, and then you will get these super cute popsicles. I think they're so much fun. And then for the sticks, I just grabbed some smaller dowels. I cut those down using my miter shears, which are always linked below, and I just added some hot glue, stuck them to the bottom, and that's all you have to do for this DIY, and you have these adorable 4th of July popsicles. For this one, I'm going to take one of these wood planks that you can get in a pack of 6 from the Dollar Tree. I just took one of those out, and I'm going to paint that with my Waverly chalk paint in white. I just gave it one good coat, and then before the coat dried, I took my Waverly chalk paint in mineral and I started distressing my sign with that. I wanted the white and the mineral color to blend together, so that's why I did it with the white paint wet. And then after I've got that all done, I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to use that as a straight line spacer for some shiplap lines. I just did this with a pencil. I didn't want the lines to be super defined. I almost wanted them just kind of faded and in the background, but kind of a barely there kind of look to it. And I just used that ruler as a spacer in between each of those lines. And then I'm going to take this wood 4 that I got in a pack from Joann's. I'm going to paint it red, and then I'm also going to paint this T and H. I got these cutouts from Gio and Dan. I always have their website linked down below. They cut this out for me using their laser probably about a year ago, I want to say. And then I'm just going to use some super glue to attach the T and the H because I didn't want a whole bunch of glue pouring out from under those. And that's all you gotta do for this DIY. Now for this one, I'm going to take some paint stir sticks. I picked this up in a pack of 10 from Lowe's. You get them for 98 cents. And I'm going to put this into a shape of a 4. I'm going to use my pencil to draw some lines to mark where I need to cut them. And then again, I'm just going to use my miter shears to cut all 3. You do have to use a little bit more force when you're cutting through the paint stir sticks, but they do cut through. And after I've got all those pieces cut out, I'm going to take some white Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to paint them front and back and all of the sides. Now I'm just going to begin hot gluing my pieces together to assemble a 4, so it's just gonna be in the shape of a 4. Pretty easy and self-explanatory to do. And then once that's done, I took this stencil that I got from the Dollar Tree. This had an adhesive back to it, so I just cut out the letters that I needed. I cut out the letters to spell July. Now, these stencils were not the best. I don't know if it was the paint I was using or what exactly was going on, but I made sure to press my stencils against the wood as best as I could to make sure that the paint wouldn't bleed underneath my stencils, and I made sure to take a little bit of paint, dab off the excess, and then do an up and down dabbing motion, but it still bled through underneath, and quite a bit at that, so I did have to go back through with a fine tip brush just to kind of fix up all those mistakes on there. So I mean, it wasn't too big of a deal, but I may recommend just either using your CRICUT and doing some vinyl or even some stickers. Some rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree would look cute too, but I just had it say July and a number 4, and I thought this project was really, really fun. So you can't have a patriotic themed tier tray without some sparklers or fireworks, and I wanted to show you how I created them. So for this one, again, I'm going to take those dowels. I cut them down into 3 different sizes, so you'll have a tall, a medium, and a small. Just kind of eyeball it. I didn't, measure anything out. I just eyeballed the whole thing. And I'm going to paint one of the dowels in blue, one of them in white, and one of them in red. Now for my blue one, I'm going to take that same stencil with the stars, and I'm just going to begin stenciling stars all over this blue dowel. I just did it in a random fashion. I didn't follow a pattern. I just started going at it, and wherever I thought a star was needed, I would add a star there. And then for my red one, I'm going to create stripes on here using some washi tape. Similar to our popsicle DIY, just use that washi tape to space out some stripes on there, and then I'm going to take some white Waverly chalk paint, and with a dabbing motion, just dab on all of my stripes. Once that's all done, I'm going to set that to the side to dry. And then for my white dowel, I'm going to take a back of a paintbrush and I'm going to dip it in that blue paint, and I'm just going to add little dots all over the entire thing, and then I'll do the same thing with my red paint, just dabbing dots all over that dowel. I removed the washi tape from the red dowel, and then I'm going to create little wicks. Is that what they're called? The little, parts at the top that you light. I would assume they're called like a wick. I don't know. Maybe they have a different name. But I just took some of this gold wire that I had. I cut a piece off and twisted it around a paintbrush. And then I'm going to create a little hole in all 3 of the tops of my dowels just with this blade. Just kind of doing a circle motion to just kind of cut a little hole in it. I'll hot glue the bottom of the wire and just push that right into that hole. And then to finish it off, I'm going to take some twine and wrap it around all 3 of my fireworks, tie a double knot in the front, and that's it for this DIY. For this one, I'm going to take one of these spring rounds that you can get from the Dollar Tree. I cut it in half using my miter saw in my garage. I gave it about 3 good coats of this white Waverly chalk paint to make sure that it covered up all of the spring word and florals. And I'm going to start painting on and making this into a patriotic bunting. So I just start with some red and I do, you know, the half circle shape on the bottom, and I just tried to get this as even as I possibly could. And then I went through with my red and added an outline of red to the top portion of the circle. I did this on both pieces. I'm just going to make these exactly the same. And once that red line is on there, I'm going to go in the middle with my blue. So again, just creating a half circle in the middle with that blue, and I just worked on this until I thought that it looked good, and I just went back and forth trying to make my half circles as even as I could get them, fill in that stripe for the blue, and then once the blue is all dry, again I'm going to take those star stencils and I'm going to stencil stars in the blue section of the bunting. And then I wanted this to look rough and distressed. So again, I'm going to take a brush with my antique wax from Waverly, and I'm just going to go back and forth on both of these pieces. And after everything is nice and dry, to kind of take it to that extra step, I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper and I'm just going to sand over the entire thing. And then to finish them off, I'm going to make a little twine bow just by wrapping it around my fingers a couple times, adding some twine around the middle to tie the middle off, and then I'll cut off the excess twine from the tails, and then I'm just going to hot glue those to the bottom of the buntings. And I did this as well so that I could cover up that hole in the one, and I thought these turned out just so stinking cute. And then for our last one, I'm going to take this little palette that you can get from the Dollar Tree, and then 3 more of these stars. I just popped these off of a sign that I got from the Dollar Tree. I believe it was on a tag sign. And I'm just going to start by staining my palette in my Waverly Wax and Antique. I just made sure to get in all the little nooks and crannies because there are a lot of them on this piece. And then I just use it just like a stain. I painted it on and then removed the excess with the paper towel. And then I'm going to take my stars, and on one of them I'm going to paint that blue. On the other one, I'm going to paint it red, and then I'm just going to leave the third one silver. I did do about 3 coats on the blue and the red star, and then to give it a little bit distressing and definition, I'm going to take some of my antique wax from Waverly. I went in all of the corners of the stars, and I am going to hot glue these down to my palette. I just went in a diagonal with them. And that's it. That's all you got to do for this DIY, and I thought this one turned out so cute. That's it for today's video. Let me know what your favorite project was in the comments down below. My last release for my summer kits is next Sunday. I'm so excited for this one. It may be my favorite out of all 4 of the kits that I've done. I love it. Don't forget to subscribe before you guys leave. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!